I'll create the first part of the story directly in this response. I was watching my old TV when my wife Nancy yanked the power cord right out of the wall. "This piece of junk has got to go," she said, not even looking at me. "I already sold it online. The buyer's coming tomorrow." The black cord dangled from her hand like a dead snake. That TV had been mine for 15 years, and she'd just decided to get rid of it without asking. But what hurt more wasn't her words. It was my daughter Madison standing behind her, arms crossed, nodding like Nancy was making perfect sense. "I'm Victor Carson, 58 years old, retired detective from Chicago PD. After 30 years on the force, I thought I knew people. Thought I could spot trouble coming. I was wrong about the trouble living in my own house." That was Wednesday, October 15th, 2024. The day everything started unraveling. But let me back up a bit so you understand how I got here. My first wife, Catherine, died 6 years ago. Cancer. After watching her suffer for 2 years, I was lost. Didn't know how to be alone after 25 years of marriage. Madison was 24 then, just starting her nursing career at Northwestern Memorial, busy with her own life. I understand that kids grow up, move on, that's how it should be. I met Nancy at Lou Mitchell's Diner near the 12th District about 5 years ago. She was 40, worked part-time at a law firm downtown, seemed kind. Smart too. She listened when I talked about Catherine, about the job, about feeling like I was just marking time until retirement. We started dating, and honestly it felt good to have someone care again. We got married 4 years ago, small ceremony at St. Alphonsus, just Madison and a few friends. Nancy moved into my house on the northwest side, the one Catherine and I bought in 1995, paid off in 2018 with money from my pension and some inheritance from Catherine's parents. 3 bedrooms, nice neighborhood near Jefferson Park, worth about $340,000. Not a mansion, but it was mine. Free and clear. Things were good at first. Nancy cooked, kept the place clean, seemed to get along with Madison. She even helped me organize Catherine's things without making me feel guilty about keeping some of her photos around. When I retired 2 years ago with my full pension after 30 years, Nancy said she wanted to help manage our finances since she had experience from working at Morrison & Associates downtown. Made sense. I handed over access to my pension account, my checking account at First National. Everything. What could go wrong? She was my wife. That's when the little things started. Nancy would open my mail before I saw it, just organizing things, honey. You know how scattered these bills can get. She set up online banking and said she'd handle all the payments. You worked 30 years protecting this city. Let me take care of this boring stuff. She started buying things without asking, new furniture from Crate and Barrel, expensive kitchen gadgets from Williams-Sonoma, clothes from Nordstrom. When I asked about money, she'd wave me off. Don't worry, we can afford it. I'm watching the budget like a hawk. The worst part was how she changed my relationship with Madison. Nancy would call Madison at the hospital to complain about me. Your dad's being difficult again. He doesn't understand how household finances work in the modern world, or I'm really worried about him. He seems confused lately, asking the same questions about money. Slowly, Madison started treating me different, like I was the problem, like I couldn't handle my own life anymore. Nancy started inviting herself to our father-daughter dinners. Then eventually I'd just hear about their lunch dates secondhand. Madison and I went to that new place on Milwaukee Avenue. She's so stressed at work, poor thing. Like I wasn't capable of knowing my own daughter was stressed. The money conversations got weirder too. Nancy would mention bills I didn't remember, repairs that needed to be done that I'd never noticed. The roof needs work, Victor. The inspector said it could be $8,000. When I asked to see the inspection report, she'd say it was in her files at work, or she'd misplaced it, or the company only sent it digitally and she'd forward it later. She never did, which brings us back to Wednesday night in my living room on North Canfield Avenue. After Nancy yanked that cord, I just sat there staring at the blank screen. Madison walked over and put her hand on my shoulder, and I could smell her hospital soap, the same brand Catherine used to use. Dad, the new TV will be better. Nancy picked out a 65-inch smart TV with all the streaming services. You'll be able to watch those documentaries you like in much better quality. I liked my old TV just fine, I said. It worked perfectly. Nancy sighed, that exaggerated sound people make when they're dealing with an unreasonable child. Victor. It was 15 years old. The picture was terrible. This is for your own good. For my own good, in my own house, with my own money. You could have asked me first, I said quietly. Asked you? Nancy's voice had an edge to it now. Honey, we discussed this last week, remember? You said the picture was getting fuzzy. I never said that. The TV worked fine, but Madison was nodding again, like she remembered the conversation too. Made me wonder if I was losing my mind. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that cord. About the way Nancy had just decided what was best for me. About Madison taking her side without even asking for my version. I lay in bed listening to Nancy breathe beside me, and something felt wrong. Not just the TV thing, everything. At 2 a.m. something clicked in my head. Call it cop instinct. Call it finally waking up. I needed to know what else Nancy had been organizing for my own good. I went to my old home office, the room Nancy had turned into her craft space. My desk was buried under her sewing projects, but my filing cabinet was still there in the corner. I opened the drawer where I used to keep financial records. Empty. Every folder, every statement, every document, gone. I checked my wallet. My credit cards were there, but I realized I hadn't seen a statement in months. Nancy said she'd gone paperless. Everything was online now. Online with passwords only she knew. Thursday morning, after Nancy left for work at Morrison & Associates, I drove to First National Bank on Lawrence Avenue. Been banking there for 20 years. The manager, Barbara Foster, knew me by name from my detective days when I'd had to verify financial records for cases. Victor, good to see you. What can I help with? I need to check my account balances. All of them. Barbara pulled up my accounts on her computer. Her expression changed as she scrolled through the numbers. Is there a problem? I don't know yet. Just show me what we're looking at. My pension account, the one that should have had $45,000 from my retirement payout, showed a balance of $22,000. My checking account was down to $3,800. In the past 6 months, there had been withdrawals I didn't remember making. $200 and $500 here, $1,800 there. All electronic transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. Barbara, can you print out 6 months of statements for both accounts? She handed me a stack of papers, her face serious. Victor, some of these transactions show your digital signature authorization. Did you approve these transfers? I looked at the signatures on the transfer forms. They looked like mine, but something was off. The V was too curved, the C in Carson too sharp. Close enough to fool a computer system? Not close enough to fool someone who'd been signing his name for 58 years. No, I said. I did not authorize these. Barbara's face went serious. We need to file a fraud report immediately. That afternoon, I had copies of everything. Bank statements showing $23,000 in unauthorized withdrawals, digital signature comparisons, transfer authorizations I'd never seen. I spread it all out on my kitchen table and really looked at the dates. The transfers had started small 6 months after Nancy got access to my accounts. They'd gotten bigger and more frequent over time. My wife had been stealing from me, systematically, for months, but I needed more than bank records. I needed to know the whole picture. Friday evening, Nancy went to her book club at Barnes & Noble in Lincoln Square. That's what she called it anyway. I used my old detective skills and went through her things. Not proud of it, but I had to know what I was dealing with. In her dresser drawer, under her sweaters, I found a folder labeled Property Documents. Inside were papers from a real estate attorney on North Michigan Avenue, documents about selling the house. My house. There was an appraisal showing the current value at $342,000. There were forms to establish power of attorney, and there was a letter from Dr. Susan Martinez, a psychiatrist I'd never heard of. The letter recommended that Victor Carson be evaluated for cognitive decline consistent with early-stage dementia. It mentioned concerning behaviors including paranoia about finances and inability to manage household decisions. It referenced multiple incidents of confusion and repetitive questioning. The letter was dated 2 weeks ago. Nancy was building a case that I was mentally incompetent so she could take control of my property. I photographed everything with my phone, put it all back exactly where I found it, and sat in my kitchen trying to process what I'd discovered. My wife of 4 years had stolen $23,000 from me, was planning to have me declared mentally unfit, and intended to sell my house. The house Catherine and I had built our life in. Saturday morning, I called Howard Peterson. Howard and I had worked together when I was a detective and he was a prosecutor in the state's attorney's office. He'd left the DA's office and gone into private practice 10 years ago, but we'd stayed friends. His office was downtown on LaSalle Street. Victor, what's going on? I need a lawyer, Howard. It's about elder abuse, fraud, and my wife is the one doing it. Jesus, come in Monday morning. Bring everything you've got. There's something else. I think she's trying to have me declared incompetent. Don't sign anything. Don't agree to see any doctors, she suggests. And whatever you do, don't let her know you're onto her yet. Sunday was the longest day of my life. Nancy acted completely normal, made breakfast, asked about my plans for the day, kissed me goodbye when she left to run errands at Whole Foods and Target. If I hadn't seen those documents, I'd never have suspected anything. Monday morning at 9 a.m., I sat in Howard's office on the 18th floor with a folder full of evidence. Through his window, I could see Lake Michigan stretching out to the horizon. This is serious, Victor. Identity theft, elder financial abuse, potentially conspiracy to commit fraud. If she's setting you up for a competency hearing, that's another level of criminal behavior. What do I do? First, we secure your assets, change all your passwords, put fraud alerts on your accounts. Second, we document everything. I want you to keep a record of every conversation, every interaction. Third, we let her dig her own grave. Don't confront her yet. Let's see how far she's willing to go. Howard set me up with a private investigator named Gary Walsh, another ex-cop from the 14th District. Gary installed tiny cameras in my house. Legal, since it was my property. We put one in the living room, one in Nancy's craft room, and one in the kitchen. Audio recording too. For the next week I played dumb, acted like the confused old man Nancy was trying to convince everyone I was, asked the same questions twice, pretended to forget conversations, left my coffee cup in weird places. Nancy ate it up. She started calling Madison more often. I'm really worried about your dad. He's getting worse. Maybe it's time to consider getting him some help. Madison came over Thursday night after her shift at Northwestern Memorial. She sat me down at the kitchen table with a concerned look I recognized from when she was little and thought I was making bad decisions. Dad, Nancy thinks you might benefit from talking to someone, a doctor who specializes in memory issues. Memory issues? You've been forgetting things. Repeating yourself? Nancy says you left the stove on twice last week and asked her the same question about the electric bill 3 times. That was a lie. I'd been extra careful about everything since I knew I was being watched. The stove incident never happened, and I'd only asked about the electric bill once when I noticed it seemed high. Madison, I'm fine. I don't need a doctor. Dad, there's no shame in getting help. Mom would have wanted you to take care of yourself. Hearing her bring up Catherine, using my dead wife to manipulate me into seeing Nancy's psychiatrist, that hurt worse than finding the bank records. Madison's scrub still smelled like the antiseptic from the ICU where she worked, and I remembered all those nights Catherine had come home with the same smell during her nursing years. I'll think about it, I said. The doctor Nancy found is supposed to be really good, Dr. Martinez. She specializes in helping families navigate these kinds of changes. So Nancy had already talked to Madison about the psychiatrist. They'd discussed my supposed mental decline like I wasn't even part of the equation. Friday night, Nancy made her move. She'd printed out forms for me to sign while I was watching the evening news. Just some updates to our financial accounts, honey. The bank needs new signature cards. I looked at the papers. They weren't bank forms. They were power of attorney documents, giving Nancy complete control over all my assets in case I became incapacitated. There was also an authorization for Dr. Martinez to conduct a psychiatric evaluation and share the results with Nancy. I need my reading glasses, I said. Let me look at these tomorrow. It's just paperwork, Victor. The bank needs them first thing Monday morning, or they'll freeze the accounts until we get this sorted out. This was it. She was trying to get me to sign away my rights, probably planning to have me declared incompetent within the week. Saturday morning, I called Howard from my cell phone while Nancy was in the shower. She's making her move. Tried to get me to sign power of attorney papers last night. Don't sign anything. We're filing for an emergency injunction Monday morning to freeze your assets and prevent any property transfers. But Victor, we need her on record. We need her to say something incriminating. That evening, I set up the perfect opportunity. I told Nancy I was ready to sign the papers, but I was confused about some of the legal language. Could she explain what they meant? The hidden camera caught everything. Nancy sitting at my kitchen table, explaining how the power of attorney would let her handle everything if I couldn't make decisions anymore. How Dr. Martinez was the best in the city for evaluating older people with memory problems. How once the evaluation was complete, we could explore housing options that might be better suited to my needs. You mean like a nursing home? I asked. Well, if that's what's recommended, Victor, this house is too big for us anyway. We could downsize, maybe get something smaller in a nice community. Use the equity for your care. What about Madison? This was her childhood home. Nancy's face hardened just slightly, a look the camera caught perfectly. Madison understands that things change. She wants what's best for you too. She's the one who suggested we look into Dr. Martinez. I had it all on video. Nancy explaining her plan to have me declared incompetent, sell my house, and put me in a care facility, all while stealing my money to fund her lifestyle. And the money from selling the house would go toward my care, of course. Though these facilities are expensive, we'd need to be smart about budgeting. I've been researching the costs, and between your pension and the house equity, we should be able to manage for quite a while. She was already calculating how long my money would last, like I was already gone. Monday morning, Howard filed the injunction at the Cook County Courthouse. By noon, Nancy's access to my accounts was frozen. At 2 p.m., Detective Reynolds from the Financial Crimes Unit called Nancy and asked her to come in for questioning regarding irregularities in Victor Carson's bank accounts. I was sitting in my living room when Nancy came home that afternoon. Her face was pale, hands shaking. She stood in the doorway like she was seeing the house for the first time. Victor, there's been some kind of mistake. The police think I've been stealing from you. They have all these bank records, but I can explain everything. Can you? Something in my voice made her look at me differently, like she was seeing me clearly for the first time in months. The confused old man act was over. You know, she said, it wasn't a question. I know about the $23,000. I know about Dr. Martinez. I know about the real estate attorney and the plan to sell my house. Nancy collapsed into the chair across from me, the same one Madison had sat in when she'd tried to convince me to see the psychiatrist. For a moment, she looked like she might try to deny everything. Then her shoulders sagged. How long have you known? Long enough. The cameras caught your explanation about the power of attorney papers, about the nursing home, about using the equity from my house for my care. Cameras? I pointed to the small device on the bookshelf. 30 years as a detective teaches you a few things about gathering evidence. Nancy started crying. Not sad tears, angry tears. You have no idea how hard it's been, living with you. You're boring, Victor. You sit around all day, you don't want to go anywhere or do anything. I'm 45 years old. I deserve better than this. So you decided to steal my retirement and have me committed? I earned that money. 4 years of taking care of you, putting up with your depression, dealing with your obsession with your dead wife. You think I don't see you talking to her picture? You think I don't know you wish it was me who died instead of Catherine? The truth was out. Raw and ugly. You're right about one thing, I said quietly. I do wish Catherine was still here, but not because I wanted you to die. Because Catherine would never have stolen from me. Catherine would never have betrayed me. Catherine loved me. Nancy laughed bitterly. Catherine's dead, Victor. I'm alive. I'm here, and you've never appreciated what I've done for you, what you've done for me. You stole $23,000. You forged my signature. You tried to convince my daughter I was losing my mind. You planned to sell my house and put me in a nursing home. What part of that was for me? Detective Reynolds arrived at 6 p.m. with a warrant for Nancy's arrest. Elder financial abuse, identity theft, conspiracy to commit fraud. The bank records, the forged signatures, the video confession, it was more than enough. As they led Nancy away in handcuffs, she turned back to me. You'll be sorry, Victor. You're nothing without me. You'll die alone in this house, talking to pictures of your dead wife. Maybe, but I'd rather die alone with my dignity than live with someone who saw me as nothing more than a bank account to drain. Madison came over that night after Howard called her. She sat on my couch, still in her nursing scrubs, crying. The same couch where Nancy had explained her plan to ship me off to a care facility. Dad, I'm so sorry. I believed her. I thought you were really having problems. She's good at what she does. Manipulation is a skill, and Nancy's had years to practice. How can you be so calm about this? Because I'm a detective, sweetheart. I follow the evidence. The evidence showed me who Nancy really was, and it showed me that you love me enough to be concerned when you thought I was struggling. That matters. Madison wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She kept calling me, telling me how worried she was. She had me convinced you were getting confused, forgetting things. She even recorded you on her phone once talking to Mom's picture and played it for me like it was proof you were losing it. I do talk to your mother's picture sometimes. That's not mental illness, that's grief. There's a difference. I should have known. I should have talked to you directly instead of listening to her. You're a nurse, Madison. You see real dementia every day. Nancy was counting on your medical knowledge to make her lies seem credible. Nancy pled guilty to avoid trial. 30 months in state prison, 5 years probation, full restitution of the stolen money. The marriage was annulled. Turns out she'd been married to someone else when we met and never bothered to get divorced. So technically, we were never legally married anyway. Madison helped me change the locks, set up new bank accounts, and clean Nancy's stuff out of the house. We found more evidence of her deception, credit cards in my name I'd never applied for, correspondence with other men she'd been seeing while married to me, even research on other widowed men with property and pensions. I wasn't Nancy's first victim. I was just the one who fought back. It's been 8 months now. I'm still in my house on North Canfield Avenue, still talking to Catherine's picture sometimes, still boring according to Nancy's standards. But I'm free. I'm safe. And I learned something important. It's never too late to stand up for yourself, no matter who's trying to take you down. The best part? Madison and I are closer now than we've been since Catherine died. She comes over twice a week, after her shifts at Northwestern Memorial, and we actually talk. Not about Nancy. Not about the past, but about life. About her job, about my plans to maybe do some private investigation work with Gary Walsh, about whether I might want to date again someday. Maybe I will. But if I do, I'll know what red flags to look for. I'll know the difference between someone who wants to take care of me and someone who wants to take care of my assets. Nancy was right about one thing. I do talk to Catherine's picture, but I'm not crazy. I'm grateful. Grateful that Catherine showed me what real love looks like, so I could recognize the fake version when it moved into my house. And I'm grateful that at 58, I still had the fight left in me to protect what Catherine and I built together. The house is quiet now, but it's my quiet, my choice, my life. Sometimes the biggest victory isn't getting revenge, it's getting your life back, and that's exactly what I did. If you're reading this and see yourself in my story, remember, trust your instincts, secure your assets, and never let anyone convince you that age makes you powerless. Sometimes the most important battle you'll fight is the one to keep what's rightfully yours. The real lesson here isn't about revenge or getting even, it's about recognizing that your dignity and independence are worth fighting for. No matter how old you are or how much someone claims to love you while they're stealing from you.